So when you have produced both, or by one or by the second pathway, what happens? This is the more specific terpenes biosynthetic pathway, in which, in fact, on the IPP, which is the core, you can add several other modified isoprene molecules, such as DMAPP. Or you put one, or you put two, or you put three, and by this way, you can create different precursors, such as geranyl diphosphate, farnesyl diphosphate, geranyl diphosphate. Yesterday, I showed you a slide where all of these intermediates are produced. And in fact, it is the second level, okay, of the pathway, because from geranyl diphosphate, all the monoterpenes can be produced. We have seen that there is a lot of monoterpenes. From farnesyl diphosphate, all the sesquiterpenes can be used, but you can have also addition between two farnesyl diphosphate to lead to triterpenes, okay? And it is exactly the same with geranyl diphosphate that can lead to all the diterpenes that we can find in the plant, but also, it is what I showed you yesterday, when you add two phytoene, for example, two diterpenes together, you create a tetraterpene, donc a first precursor of tetraterpene that can be also diversified after, depending of the activity. So it is one of the more complex metabolic pathway because there is so many different terpenes that depend of only these three first, okay, production. And in fact, you see, as they come from the two first precursor, the flux of each part of this pathway can be differentially, okay, expressed, means that depends on the plant. You may have more geranyl diphosphate, more farnesyl diphosphate, more geranyl diphosphate. And when we do some engineering process, okay, it's very important to have an idea of the flux of these three possibility of biosynthesis in order to have enough precursor. Okay. For example, some alkaloids that are monoterpene indole alkaloid, they need to be fed with a lot of monoterpenes. This could be important for alkaloid production. So this is, for example, a possibility of link. And when we want to produce alkaloid in an heterologous cells that have also possibility to produce this because it is ubiquitous, but we need to be careful that it will be, for this cell, possible to produce enough, okay, geranyl diphosphate to permit to an heterologous pathway to be expressed, or to be efficient to produce exactly what we want. So it's very important, this part of the terpene pathway. Here, it is exactly the summary of what I showed to you. Don't be worried, it's quite the same things. You have the two pathways that lead to IPP, and also this isomer, or you had 1, 2, 3 to lead to diterpene, monoterpene, and so on. And here, what I wanted to show you is that, in fact, when you have the precursor, FPP, GPP, and GGPP, they lots of the last step that permit to convert these intermediates to the final terpenes take place in the plastid. So means that in the plastid, not only you have IPP and DMAPP production, but also the final. And sometimes, okay, this, you see this condensation step is not in the plastid, is in the cytosol, and after they have to reintegrate the plastid in order to be transformed in different other terpenes. So it's a quite complex, in fact, metabolic pathway, and it involves at least plast and cytosol in the different state of this biosynthesis. Another point that it is important is the enzymes that are able to do all this type of addition of terpenes together from the first one to the more complex one. And this is a very complex families. I didn't spoke about this one previously because it is completely dedicated to terpene production. And this family is what we call the terpene synthase. And terpene synthase, they have a very high fidelity, means they have a very high affinity with a specific substrate, monoterpene, diterpene, triterpene, and they can catalyze the addition of a new DMAPP in order to have a longer chain, for example. And finally, there is a lot of work that lead to identify all of these synthase, monoterpene synthase, diterpene synthase, because you can't substitute one by another. They are very specific of the substrate. And as these two pathways are very old, it is also very interesting to compare some of these terpene synthase with the plant, the actual plant spermaphyte, to algae, for example, or sometimes to other type of kingdoms. And in particular, it was the case of diterpene synthase. Diterpene synthase, okay, are very important here, you see, because they can produce several intermediates very important, like this one, okay, and they have been very intensively studied. And to summarize here, what it was interesting is that when you compare the diterpene synthase from moss to angiosperm, you can observe that they have lead a part of the protein. This part of the protein that is avoided in more evaluated plants correspond to one of the activity of this enzyme that in moss and also until the gymnosperm have two activities. It is what we call a bifunctional enzyme. And what it is observed is that, in fact, in angiosperm, this first activity is completely lost. So means that the diterpene synthase become more specific. Okay? And it is really interesting to see this evolution because it disorientates clearly some metabolic pathway, for example. Here, two examples of the two activities. So when you have bifunctional enzyme, it is seen here with a red row. You may have formation of cyclization and after to have addition of new isoprene, while when you have just monofunctional, you have only the possibility to add some molecule. It is the case, for example, of the Taxol that need at least two diterpene synthase in order to produce the core molecule before being hydroxylated, as I showed you just before. There is also another example I just want to highlight with you in the case of monoterpene synthase. These enzymes are very important because they are the start point to produce several type of monoterpenes that are of first importance in several industrial domains for us, such as perfume, yes, for food or for fragrance, for cosmetics, but also lots of them, like geraniol and limonene, are used as insecticide because they avoid, okay, the insect. It is what you have in some of preparation against moustique, for example. Okay, you have some geraniol. This is why it's not so bad to smell, but it is very efficient for insect. You have also some drugs, pioniflorine, that come from Paeonia. Okay, it's very important flowers, and they have lots of activity. Biofuel also use this type of monoterpenes, and when we develop, the scientific community develops some project according production of a biofuel, it is interesting to know the amount of monoterpene from the cells used as raw materials, in particular in algae. Okay, it's interesting, microalgae, because some of these monoterpene, pinene, camphene, and so on, limonene too, are able to be esterified after to lead to production of energetic molecules that can be called biofuel. Okay, so you could see that. So this is very important. So monoterpene synthase have a very big interest. This is why we have observed a few years ago several projects based on synthetic biology, okay, with the aim to engineer microbes, prokaryotes, okay, so means bacteria, or also yeast eukaryotes, depend of the application, to produce specific plant monoterpenoids. So there is a lot of example for which the possibility to identify this monoterpene synthase lead to the production of specific microorganisms able to produce these plant monoterpenes used after for different things. And what it is interesting is we can now see what it is called cell factory, okay, that are able to produce cyclic or acyclic monoterpenoids. I refer you to my last talk, okay? When they need only sugar to initiate the fermentative process in order to produce this, because they have been engineered by including the gene encoding to the monoterpene synthase, okay, that lead. But in the cell, they may have IPP production naturally. So it's a way to create a new branch, okay, in the first cell in order to, okay, use a part of the isopentenyl phosphate production for this purpose, production of monoterpenes. So here there is lots of examples. You will see that at the end, completely the end of my talk. One example of the power of this monoterpene synthase, you can see here that some of them can have possibility to recognize here two types of substrates. Okay, I said to you that they are really specific, but the specificity can be a little bit modified and can recognize two substrates. This is the case for this monoterpene synthase, and you see from this one they can catalyze production of two monoterpenes, two monoterpenes, and in this case they can produce 8 different other monoterpenes. So means that just with one monoterpene synthase, we can generate 10 different monoterpenes. So this is very interesting as developing this type of strategy of cell factory, heterologous cell factories, to produce this type of compounds. Okay, for her. This is just an example. And just to finish, because it's important also, it is the triterpene and sterol synthase. Triterpene synthase because they are at the origin of one of the most important terpenes for the life of cells is a sterol. And what it is interesting is that in fact they are responsible to make the first intermediates named squalene, okay, by the specific terpene trisynthase that it is the squalene synthase. Okay, you have 1, 2, and 3. Yes, triterpene means that you have 30 carbons. Okay, so it is a long carbon chain. Okay, that it is very important. And after this chain can be rearranged by epoxidation, for example, that can be lead to another type of molecule, functionalized, that can be after modified by a specific enzyme or specific part of the metabolic pathway. Here we are in the last part of the branch, okay, of the metabolic pathway. But it means that the intermediates can be also different from one plant to another plant, while EPP and DMAPP are present in all of them. So you have clearly the three phases, okay, of the metabolic pathway. So here it's only for you, okay. There is a lots of plants that come from different family, okay, of Angiospermus, from basal Angiospermus to the more, okay, diversified Angiospermus. What it is interesting here is you have the genome side, the gene account, how many genes do you have in the genome side? And also here you see there is some specific terpene synthase, prenyltransferase, MEF pathway genes, okay, that are responsible of production of lots of terpenes. What it is interesting to see is that in fact, even there is some modification of genome side, they are very variable. The number of genes, not on Asteracea because they have lots of copy of gene, but the number of genes may be quite okay in the same amount. But if we look at more precisely some specific genes, we can see that in fact from the basal angiosperm the number can increase a lot. Means that in fact even if it is some really important pathway, you may have some modification leading to specific terpenes in one family or in one species of plant in particular. What happens with alkaloid pathway? Okay. So here are the four family I showed you before. Sorry, okay. Here are the metabolic pathways, the general metabolic pathway I showed you before. So here with the different intermediates, aspartate, glutamate, tryptophan, or tranilate that come from Shikimate pathway. This is the best overview you can have in mind. It is not necessary to have idea of what happens here, okay, in details, because it's quite specific to one plant in particular. So it's not general, but by this way you can observe this metabolic pathway. For the pyrrolizidine alkaloid, sorry, I thought to have avoid animation, okay. You see here that in fact you may have a distinct primary metabolites, first phase and second phase of secondary metabolites. So here you have exactly the three phases I showed you before. There is some intermediates that are very important. Here, for example, the synthesis of a backbone structure, okay, that it is the start point of all the alkaloids of this family, for example. You can find them in several family. Okay. Sorry, what happens? I am always the same. Oh, okay. For the tropanalkaloid, it is exactly the same. Yes, this is what I already showed to you here. The first small part of the metabolic pathway with these intermediates that it is putrescine, okay, that lead to at least three different type of alkaloid. And if this is the formulation of putrescine, and you can see here that from this one, putrescine, you can have several different branch. This is the idea of involvement of the other enzyme I showed you before, okay, hydroxylase, oxygenase, and so on. And you may have different branch and sub-branch. As I say to you, it is just one example, because from this precursor, you may have a very large amount of different tropanalkaloids. Okay. scopolamine is one of the most important molecule because it is used as pharmaceutical today. Okay. Sorry for this. And why it is interesting is that in fact we have also seen some works aiming to produce this precursor in also microbes such as Escherichia coli, for example, that was published. But this was the first step of production at a biotechnological level, industrial level, of this scopolamine. All the scopolamine that are now used in pharmaceutical come from this type of production. This was possible because all the metabolic pathways have been identified. So we know exactly what are the genes we have to include in the microbe to enhance production of this specific metabolite instead of the metabolite produced naturally, okay, by the host cell, for example. So it was on microorganism prokaryote, which was interesting. Some works have been also done on yeast, with the idea that in yeast you have organization of cell. The cell is different, and also you can organize the metabolic pathway across the different organelles. But to my knowledge, there is not a so big difference between both of system, and cultivated Escherichia coli is easier, less cost than cultivated yeast. So for this type of molecule, if you have built a cell factory from prokaryote, it's easier to continue with this type of cells. For more complex metabolites, prokaryote is not able to do that. This is why we are obliged to switch to eukaryotic cell. So it means more work, and at the end, the cost is higher. This is why only very high value, okay, molecules can be managed via this type of bioengineered program. But it is interesting to compare, for example, both of the systems. This is the case with monoindole alkaloids. Here you have just small part of their biosynthesis. I said to you that it is a streptozidine that is the first intermediates that come from the condensation between the secologanil and the tryptamine. And what it is interesting is that, in fact, when we look at the metabolic pathway of, for example, some of intermediates of in Catharanthus of alkaloids, we can see that, in fact, there is all the type of enzymes I showed you before: glycosyl transferase, sesquiterpene synthase for producing the terpenes, secologanil. And after here you have a condensation and so on. It is a very now well-known biosynthetic pathway. And in Catharanthus rosaeus, it's well-known. I think it is the most well-known metabolic pathway because all the genes now have been characterized. But you see that streptozidine lead to several other molecules, also in Catharanthus, but evidently in other plants. And these other products, even if they have been identified because they have some activity, we don't know the branch, the particular branch that lead from streptozidine to this particular, for example, vancomycin, that is also produced in Catharanthus rosaeus. Not the same genotype, but they are also produced by these plants too. Yombin also, and so on, najmalicin, and so on. So means that, in fact, okay, when you know how to produce the intermediates, it's a good thing. But if you want to go until one of the end product of one of the sub-branch, you need to know all the steps, all the enzymes that are involved in this metabolic pathway. And this part is quite difficult to identify. And to develop an engineered process, it's a prerequisite to know exactly the metabolic pathway. Without this knowledge, you can do nothing, really. Yes, just because it is what we have done in my lab, just to show you, okay, that the metabolic pathway in Catharanthus roseus that lead from the first precursor GPP, you see here among terpenes, okay, and tryptophan here with the streptozidine synthase lead to production of streptozidine. You see there is a lot of steps, not only one or two, okay, at least here 10 genes, here just one. It was necessary about 20 years, 25 years to discover all of the genes. So because at this moment, I will show how we can do, we can find just one gene by one gene. So it was difficult to identify. But with omic assistance, we have accelerated, okay, the discovery of enzyme, particularly this one, that are involved in production of vindoline, which is the precursor, one of the precursor of the two important alkaloid dimer, vinblastine and vincristine. You see here the part of vindoline and the part of catharanthine, and it's a condensation of all. And you see here, lots of these genes have been identified by new methods, including using of omic science. And with this method, in 1 year, you can discover more than one genes, perhaps sometimes 2, 3, or 4. And but all the genes discovered are so important that you can publish in very high level publication as a discovery of each genes. So it's not so easy to find. This is why it is also a challenge for fundamental research, because after it's a new tool for applied research, in particular to rebuild this metabolic pathway in the yeast. Just to show you that this metabolic pathway is not so easy because it is distributed in between 3 different cells, and in one cell, this metabolic pathway is distributed in different organelles, which is show the complexity of this pathway. For example, in Catharanthus roseus here, you can see that the first step of the production of one of the first intermediates, named loganic acid, occur in a particular tissue named external phloem-associated parenchyma, means that you have the phloem, around the phloem you have some parenchyma, and it is in this type of cells that are produced the first intermediate of alkaloid production. Means that when they are produced, okay, they are after transfer to another type of cell, in particular to a leaf epidermis. So the cells that are just under the cuticle, and in the leaf, this loganic acid is taken charge by a new branch of the pathway, leading to the production, in particular, to tabersonine or to vindoline. And what it is interesting is that, in fact, this precursor can be also sent to the roots, but in roots, you have not the same enzyme. So the precursor can be also taken charge, but finally, the alkaloid produced in roots are completely different from the alkaloid produced in the leaf. This is also the difficulty, okay, to have an idea of how it is organized, okay, in the plant. So you can easily understand that when we have a so complex metabolic pathway, organization between different plant cells, organization between different organelles in each plant cell, it is quite difficult to imagine that only one cell culture can be able to produce vincristine and vinblastine. We have worked, not only my lab, but lots of lab, okay, 20 years ago about. We have worked a lot to generate plant cell culture that will be able to produce vincristine and vinblastine. In fact, it is impossible. We are able to produce some intermediates, but never the final product. So this is why, for example, with this type of complex alkaloids, we have shifted completely to bioengineered some host cells, such as yeast, for example, in order to reproduce part of the pathway or the entire pathway. So it is at the moment, I will show you that the next time. We have some yeast cells that are able to produce vindoline, one of the two precursors, and we were involved in a big project, a European project, and with our partner, we have built a yeast cells that are able to produce from the beginning to the end both caterantin and vindoline. So we are close to succeed to produce in the cell factories vincristine over blastine. This is a prototype, okay? So a proof of concept. The production is very low, but now all the process we have to do is to increase the ability of the cell to produce more. So means to manage the flux of carbon, the flux of molecule that give some cofactor, ATP, and so on. Because you can see there is about 40 steps between the beginning to the end. All of these steps are catalyzed by monooxygenase, lots of methyltransferase, glycosyl transferase. All of them need lots of energy. You have seen that with me. So you can imagine that to make this type of program needs to control really the different points, okay? Not only the pathway, but how this pathway can be functional in the cell. And also, it's important to compartmentate in one cell, yeast cell, the different parts of the pathway, because there is some intermediates that are cytotoxic too. So this is also why sometimes it is difficult to produce this type of molecule in just plant cells. Okay, it depends on the complexity of the pathway. So this is an example, for example. Okay, we will see that mainly just to show you just a part of the metabolic pathway. This one, okay, you recognize now the different enzymes that are involved. CYP, monooxygenase, 1, 2, I don't know if there is not a 2 here. One methyltransferase, very important, one SDR, one N-methyltransferase, and the last one is the acyltransferase that lead to the final product, vindoline, that after, by another acyltransferase, is hemisynthesized with catarrhine. So you see, to discover all of the gene, it took lots of years, okay, and a lot of work to finalize the functional activity of each gene and to rebuild primarily in vitro, secondarily in a yeast cell, okay, part of this pathway step by step in order to verify that all will be able to function, okay, in these factory cells. So this is interesting. We will see that with more detail at the end of my course. Okay, this is exactly what happens in the roots. So the same molecule can be taken charge by other type of molecule. Ici, they have some names. This is some hydroxylase, transferase, etc. Most of them have been identified not so long time. To finish with alkaloid, this is the case of benzene zoqueline alkaloid. I show you this short, okay, and summarize metabolic pathway. I say to you that tyrosine is important. And here you may have some detail of, for example, what happens to produce sequelae. And you see here that one of the major second intermediates in this pathway is the reticuline. And for example, there is some strategy that lead to produce a high amount of reticuline in yeast cell. And after, when you have this cell line, you can add different small part of other metabolic pathway in order to convert this reticuline in different other, okay, alkaloids or different other molecules. So because we can do that because we know all the genes that are involved in this short metabolic pathway. And you can observe that it is also carboxylase, methyltransferase, monooxygenase, methyltransferase 2. So it's just a way to illustrate the importance of this enzymatic family I explained you before. Another example showing that reticulin can lead to a very large set of several alkaloids. Purine alkaloid, perhaps it is exactly the same. The two precursors are xanthosine and xanthine. What it is interesting is that in coffee, they have studied the evolution of production of this particular alkaloid, which is not a true alkaloid, if you remember well what I presented you before. But what it is interesting is that depending on the plant, citrus, mamra, pollyanna, they have exactly the same precursor, okay? But in fact, you see that some enzymes have been identified that propose different pathway, okay, to arrive to the final product. Lots of pathway here have not been yet completely deciphered. This is hypothesis. We need to see if we can find genes encoding enzyme that can be, for example, transform xanthosine into 3-methylxanthine. But what we have already found, it is the enzyme that is able to transform xanthosine into methylxanthine. But this other precursor, xanthine, can be also integrated in this pathway or in this one. Finally, we thought that there is about 12 potential pathways. This is what we discussed with chemists because they proposed us a sequence of modification. And depending on the modification, we can anticipate that it will be a monooxygenase, a methyltransferase, a glucose. Okay, you have seen that. And after, we have to test all the hypotheses in order to reconstitute completely the metabolic pathway. So it's also very important to discuss with chemists that can permit us to have several hypotheses, okay, of the construction, theoretical construction of the pathway. But you see here a level more of complexity is that the same pathway could be completely different from between two plants. So it is very specific. Depend of what you want to produce, even if the final product is here, caffeine. Okay. It's not so easy to work in this domain, but it is. I like this one. Okay. Stop here.